The hell was that?
I'm starting to not like the music as much.
Well, you got to change it up. We can't have the same song every time. But that was
Yeah,
lame. That was
it's
lame as
it's
hell.
it's hard to make these like mixes thingies and make them actually sound good.
Have you
What's
seen there's like
this?
some people have, or like one guy I saw has been getting banned for using music in his videos
Banned from what? Twitter?
from Twitter? Yeah. Let me see if I can find it. I think,
No shot.
yeah, I think it's somewhere. It's somewhere on my Slack. But I definitely remember like he got banned twice with like no real reason why besides like that, or like they didn't tell him like which one it was or anything like that. So might have to worry about that someday.
We'll deal with it when we get there, I guess.
Hmm. Damn, I
Solo
really
episode.
needed, I don't know, I was
A
used to
hype
that
intro.
intro. I needed
You
some, I don't
every
know, like
time
it just
every time
puts me
I
in the
play the
mood.
music,
Like
I thought you really like didn't like the music,
I
so I was like,
I didn't, but I think like, like the Pavlov's experiment where like he makes the dog salivate at like the sound of a like a button or something. It's kind of like that. Like it like puts
yeah,
me in the mood.
yeah. Do you want me to end the stream and restart?
No, 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 no. It's too far gone now. When was the
What have you
last
been
time we
up
did
to,
a
Ellie?
solo episode? Last time we did a solo episode was
A couple weeks ago.
recently. Yeah, not that long ago.
Not that
What
long.
do we talk about? You just kind of complained about Bankless the whole time.
I know. That's why I don't want to like overspeak again.
Yeah.
I think I
I
think I went
think
too hard last episode,
well we
but I was
haven't
right.
really like
I
you were,
was
what do
I
you mean you
was
were right
I was sort of right.
because they had another controversy
Because it was like a controversy that like aligned with
with the
what I
like the
believed,
token
the kind of
thing.
people they were, and uh, a lot of people only realized through that specific controversy. I guess it's actually pretty funny now. That David Hoffman guy. I'm not going to get into it, but he's been
Yeah,
posting a
let's
lot of
not. We
Solana
we already
memes.
did a whole solo
Have you
episode
seen
on this.
Have you
Let's
seen that meme though? It's like a he's been posting a lot of Solana memes, like just straight dunking on Solana. I kind of respect it. Like he's going very hard on the hate for Solana.
I don't know. Uh,
I
the
don't
less we
respect it
talk about those
for
guys, the
that.
better. To be
Yeah, yeah,
honest,
yeah,
that
yeah.
episode is all they get. We're done with that. ETH is at 2250 today. Bitcoin's at 44. It looks like it's gonna stay there, or at least like stay above that. Um, what are you like? What have you been like looking at? Like, is there anything that like new that you I don't know. I've been adding like more like leaders to my watch list. I haven't been adding any of them. But I've just been watching them a little bit closely because stuff like Tau, Prime, like I don't know, like actually the tweet that I put out today, pretty much the stuff that's on that list.
You want to share a screen? I don't think I saw the tweet that you put out today.
Oh, well,
I saw the
I'll
one
just
where I was
list the names on it. It was
fading
just
mad
like
light.
leaders in different categories. I put Pendle on there, which is pretty biased. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know that Pendle is necessarily a leader right now.
I saw someone put
Um,
a thread, like an RWA thread for Pendle. Hadn't
yeah,
seen it written in
Pendle
that
does
light.
RWA stuff.
Yeah, but I didn't
Pendle,
see like many people signifying it or categorizing it as an RWA project, which was interesting to see.
it's one of those
But
things that like you can kind of apply to a lot of names. Like people like talked about it
you
as an
hate the
LSD project a lot.
RWA thing.
Yeah,
What's that about?
I think it's dumb. I
I don't
mean,
have a feeling yet, but I kind of like it.
it's just like I don't know. The only like I saw this one graphic from I don't remember which, but some RWA projects docs, which was like Normally, like in DeFi, the yield you get on a token is like all DeFi, which is like lending and borrowing rates or like uh fees from LPing. That's like where all the yield comes from versus like having natively yielding assets like RWAs, like T-bills. You can like kind of fill that gap a little bit, and then the DeFi yield goes on top of that. So like you take like I don't know, like SDI or something, which natively yields 4%, and then you can get another like 2% for lending it out, or another like 15% for LPing it with like ETH or something. That like that's cool, I think, to like it creates like more sustainable yields, I think. But I don't think people really care about sustainable yields in the bull market. People care about like Ponzi's and like, you know, quintuple digit yield. Um I mean if RWA, if it happens this cycle, it's just going to be a product of like VCs and KOLs pumping it, which is like probably the way it's
But
going to
what do you
go.
categorize? But that's everything. But what do you categorize as like an RWA project? When I hear RWA, I just think of like
It's pretty
T
broad,
bills.
honestly.
Like
Like
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like
yeah.
what category do you hate within the RWA thing? Hate is a strong word, but like you know what I mean.
Well, I
I like
don't
the
like
T bill stuff. I think that stuff is cool, and it can
I
do
think
this.
that's good for institutions. I don't have any reason to use it myself, but I think it's a good way to get
I think
institutions
it
on
could be
board. Like
a good base for like Ponzi's, right?
no,
No,
I don't think so. I think that
someone's gonna turn it into a
the
Ponzi.
I think that like the government based RWAs, like T bills or like some basket of goods, is gonna be won by the compliant people. So it's gonna be won by like Ondo and Backed, because Ondo you have to like jump through like 7 different hoops and like undergo like an anal cavity search of a KYC to even like hold the token. I think that's gonna do well because one like big fund with like some 100 billions in AUM is going to come and put like 3% of their portfolio into on-chain treasuries, and like that's going to like 5x to TVL just like that. Um but like
But
I what I don't like
are apps like Ondo like permissionless enough for some like a non dev psychopath
no,
to
hell
build
no.
something like no?
Hell
There's
no.
like no way to access that.
There's some interesting loopholes that Ondo doesn't allow, but Backed does allow. So Ondo's like all the way on like the far side of the spectrum, and Backed is like a little bit closer. If like this is like permissioned and this I don't have a lot of this is permissioned and this is permissionless. Ondo's like right here, like all as permissions it can be, and Backed is like a little bit closer. So like for example, there's a project that allows so Backed is like a market maker of tokenized T-bills, basically. And you can same thing, you can only buy them if it's permissioned in certain ways. But there's a project that has a smart contract which serves as an intermediary that's managed by a KYC fund. They purchase the assets from Backed, and then they essentially lend it out to anyone. So there's like a layer of separation, kind of. Ondo wouldn't allow that because to even hold the asset, you have to prove something.
KYC.
Yeah. But
Wajahad is in the chat saying that the like T bill stuff is it's a pretty good point. It's like good for non US residents who don't normally
oh
have
yeah,
access to that kind of
where are you seeing the
okay.
chat?
You can't see the comments on the right hand side.
Oh shit, we have comments. Oh, what's good, Waj?
I mean, it's just Wajahad.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think. What I don't like about RWAs is the other stuff, specifically like the NFT guys trying to push it as a narrative, because no one
NFT five.
like it's cool. It's cool that you can like. Don't get me wrong. I love the NFT fi space. Like I love plenty of people in it and plenty of builders in it. But like like to think that people are going to come and borrow against their watches or their cars or their home in any meaningful capacity when it truly is not permissionless in any way and like a meaningful amount is just like you're just kind of spreading hopium, to be honest. Like you like putting a physical asset like that on chain when some like something that like big that some third party has to custody. And because like if you think about like Maple Finance, they kind of tried to do it but on a different scale with like small businesses basically. And they had this whole thing happen where like some like motorcycle business who took out a Maple loan wasn't able to pay back the loan. So now what do? They like someone from Maple or whoever their like custody is has to go and like repossess those motorcycles. Um
That's the thing I don't
what part of
understand
that
about
is
that whole.
DeFi? Like
Yeah, like and the Landex thing. Like I was looking at that chart, and it's just one arrow for like between on-chain USDC and like people doing agricultural physical labor. And like
it
that's more than
it
one
cannot be
arrow.
that simple.
There's so much going on there, and that's going to be the entire like point of failure. And I don't know what the quote
That's all
is.
like
Like, but did you see? That's the same thing that happened with. Oh my God, what's his name? DCF God is like trying to bet on the repeg there.
oh
This
was it Aave? The
no,
GHO?
not Avic. That actually repegged. It's like
Oh, okay.
90, 90.
Oh,
But
tangible.
tangible, yes, they were doing the real estate shit, and the whole problem
Uh-huh.
happens when there's no some difference between liquidity and solvency and all those things, and like they had no ability once people started pooling funds from the pool, they couldn't sell the houses fast enough to keep the thing pegged. So
Mm.
inevitably, like if they actually do have the assets, they actually do have the houses. Yeah, sure, it'll get like repegged, but like there's so much going on between the house and the chain that like that's the only thing that bugs me about the whole RWA thing. It's like a
It
lot of
should
hopium.
be like the like all the things that can go wrong with intermediaries are bound to go wrong there, I think.
Yeah,
Which is like when you're dealing with that plus smart contract risk plus all the stuff that goes along with DeFi, like
it
front
has
end
to be a
risk, smart
crazy
contract risk,
Ponzi to
accidentally
be
like
worth it.
typing the wrong character in a wallet
Yeah,
address, like you're just you're getting the like the worst of both worlds really in exchange for like a very small subset of people being able to lend and borrow against their watches or whatever. Um, I will say that I would totally trade the price of like Rolex or something on chain.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
like that would be fun, I think,
yeah.
but you don't need physical backing to do that. Like I would be perfectly comfortable doing that on a VMM if it was structured the right way, like a VMM backed with some sort of like synthetic infrastructure. I would rather do that than have to have
That'd
some
be
sort of
pretty
like
cool.
physical backing.
Be crazy to see what the Oracle for that would look like. Would it just be
I would
like
love to see
one
that.
Rolex store or like the
Yeah,
Rolex
or
website?
like some major like provider. I would love to see like the Bitcoin Rolex chart, like how closely correlated those two are. Can Chainlink not bring the Oracle? Yeah, I mean Chainlink can do a lot. Like the challenge is like finding market makers for something like that, and just like figuring out what the right like system is, because historically the only way to trade like Oracle backed assets on chain is like with a VMM of some kind, and that's never really worked. Like you end up with like skewed funding rates that eventually get taken on by the protocol, um and all sorts of problems. So like it's not quite there yet, but I think people are making good improvements in the VMM space. So uh while they will probably continue to blow up, I hope that they won't after a while.
I want to give you the opportunity to give everyone, you know, I want you to have your victory lap. I know you don't want this, but I think it's honestly pretty well deserved. give us the initial story to kind of where you're at now with the tweet you put out, the Solana
Oh, the
Mad
Mad
Lads
Lads.
thing. Yeah. What? Because
Yeah.
I remember that phone call very vividly. Like it was the one where you were saying like, yeah, I'm just gonna keep buying a bunch of Solana. Like I'm just gonna keep like DCAing or something into Solana.
Mm.
And I was just like dunking on you a bit, but also like trying to understand like the play. And then you made that Mad Lads play and just like, you know what, fuck it, I'm just gonna have this exposure. But yeah, what was this thought process? How much faith did you actually have?
I mean,
take us through
I
that Ully conviction.
I think the faith I had in Solana was it was less. It wasn't on the level of like the same people you see like the Solana boys on Twitter or like Ansem. It was more so just like it was very clear that people were throwing the baby out with the bathwater after a while. Like people were saying like, oh, the community doesn't matter. Oh, the chain goes down. The chain goes down every 5 minutes. Like, oh, it was just an SBF chain. It literally took maybe 30 to 45 minutes of research at any given point between now and like the start of the year to see how false all of those things were,
But
or
what
just how like misconstrued they were.
but what
So like
aspects of those are false, right? Like I want to pick on
the
each of
chain.
those.
Okay,
The
I'll answer.
SBF
I'll answer
chain
each one of
one,
them.
yeah, the SBF chain, like throw that out. Like I don't care
Okay,
about that. But just
but let's. There's
community
an
being
easy
a
answer to
thing,
it.
for a chain is like just very dumb to me. I just don't understand that.
Did you see Cardano? Did you
Yes,
see?
but
Do you
like,
see Tau right now? You like it matters. It matters. And the thing is it relates back to the SBF chain thing because people thought it was just low float pump and dumps, which it was. But then if you go and see at the start of 2023 what teams are building on there, what they're building, how they're thinking about things, it's pretty clear that there's like genuinely like earnest integrous builders who have been like who have either been here since before SBF and stuck around or who have come in after. When you combine that with people who like genuinely care
but
about the chain.
what's the thing that makes a difference for you, right? Like, there's like at one point people thought the Luna guy was like had some integrity and was like legit. Maybe not people who were smart, but you know there was like a good majority who kind of thought that about this person. People thought that about like Daniel Sesta. Like, what's the difference? Not technically, but in terms of like just like the what's the word? Like, what is the difference in thesis between Solana and Avalanche? There's a community on Avalanche. There are people building on Avalanche. Yes, it's a whole different um, like VM. Like Solana is actually more than just like a fork of the EVM with different subnets. But you know what I mean? When people say community, it's like every chain has a community. Like what
Yeah,
point does it get big enough or like yeah, at what point does it get like at what point does the community make a difference to you? Because you could
I
tweet out the
think
ticker like Sui and have like 20 people in your DMs or like 20 people in your
nah,
replies.
Swee's not like that actually. Like, well, okay, well, I know what you mean though. Like, say
Yeah,
or like
whatever. Like pick a
injective.
chain.
Yeah,
Pick a chain.
Swee's an exception though. They don't have
Yeah.
like an actual proper community. But no, I know what you mean, and I think there's two possible answers. Like, one is like kind of a cop out and saying it's just like a vibe. Um,
Vibes.
it's just a vibe, and when you look at what's being built there, it makes a difference. Like when you look
But
at
what was being
AVAX,
built at Solana? Like when people were saying the community's so big and there's like stuff to do, I legit couldn't name any
on chain order
substantial thing that
books,
people were doing.
Drift V2, order book based
Apes.
lending, an NFT community that rivals ETH or that rivaled ETH at one point, the best NFT marketplace in crypto.
I'm talking about when you made like the initial thing.
All that stuff
Some of
was
those
being
apps
built
weren't
then.
live.
They were being built. I didn't know about all of them. I knew I've
Which
always
ones did
believed
you
that
know about
Tensor.
then?
I've always believed that Tensor is the best NFT marketplace in crypto. I knew about Drift back then. I knew that Solana was pretty much the only place that you could try to have an on-chain order book, and that still hasn't happened yet. It's happening right now, and people are like kind of overlooking it, I think, because they're not really marketing. But yeah, a little bit of like a there's nothing to shill there, but I think it's important to keep
Who's
an eye
building
on.
an on-chain order book?
Phoenix. Um, they're not really like super loud yet, but they process like a third of all
Explain
transactions through Jupiter, which is pretty cool.
explain why. This is a bit of a tangent, but explain why we would need an on-chain order book,
It's just
and like why should we?
it's just more
What's
ethos
the difference
aligned.
maker?
It's just more ethos aligned than the off-chain models with on-chain settlement. It's feasible on Solana versus anywhere else. Maybe it'll be feasible on like an L3 someday, but we're definitely not there yet. I think it's very easy to sell to crypto natives. Um, I think that when you consider stuff like intents, it gets a little bit murky as to like how it would specifically be like useful or better. But if you could operate an on-chain order book and you could have someone like Elixir making liquidity on the same XY equals K curve to tap into those maker rewards, you would have like, in theory, you would have insane liquidity or liquidity on par with off-chain order books, but in a more decentralized way. So that means no more of those DYDX or price manipulations or GMX Oracle price manipulations. Um, you would have incentives still going towards users with the Elixir integration. Um, and it's just easier to sell to crypto natives, I think. Like
Okay.
it's like the reasons to hate AMMs are very valid, but when people like Aori throw the whole thing out, I think that it like we have to at least try to maintain some semblance of decentralization, I think. Even if like it's the harder and more difficult route, I think I really respect builders who are doing stuff like that. And I think that if we don't keep trying to push that forward, um, we're just gonna end up making trade-offs that in the long run end up hurting us. Have you been seeing those Coinbase ads? Dude, those are so fire. And
Yeah.
that's exactly where this is like coming
I showed
from.
it to my mom.
Dude, I should show that to my family.
Uh,
Those are
by the
like
time it got to the end and the Coinbase logo like pops up, she's like, "Fuck that shit!" Like, what
dude,
the fuck?
I love that
I
campaign.
thought it was great.
Um
Like they
yeah.
did a great job.
Yeah.
Um,
But like that's like that's a good example. If we're making trade-offs to be more centralized or more permissioned in the name of speed or efficiency, that's fine. Like we should explore both routes, but um, there's like a reason why we're all doing this, whether or at least there's a reason why a lot of people are doing this. I think obviously a lot of people here are just for the money and like, or maybe they want to act like they're here for the decentralization, but they're really not. But I don't know. It's important to me at the end of the day. I
yeah,
also want to say,
I agree.
like I've
You
said a
know what
lot
I
of good things
sort
about.
of want to say? I
Go
like
ahead.
the the irony of like caring about decentralization and then being on Solana is like pretty. Yeah, I think like Solana isn't enough yet, right? So like for the decentralization focused people, building an on-chain order book, be it is like a good achievement, but doing it on Solana kind of puts you in the similar, like in a similar space. Like like you're not really that decentralized, in my opinion. But the same can be said about like L2s and stuff. But it's just, I think,
It's just hard to decentralize systems. Like you can't like Solana's made great progress. Like no one can say that they're not trying to get there. Um, it's like it's not an easy thing to do. It takes time, especially for like a general purpose computer like that. it takes time. So like, people make all these comparisons between Solana and ETH. Solana's been around for what, like 5 years, 4 or 5 years, and ETH has been around for a decade now.
I asked this question, yeah, but DeFi's only been alive for like 3 years. But I will say, like, this question I have is like, if you had $1 billion, like if you put all your net worth, I mean, we basically put all of our net worth on chain, but let's just say like you put all of your net worth on chain. You have like daily activities that all relate back to the chain. You go grocery shopping, you spend money from on chain, you pay your rent on chain, your electricity bill, everything. Can you sleep at night with all your money on Solana? That's how I understand decentralization. And to me, like, I'm just not there yet. I'm just not there yet. That's my coefficient for decentralization coefficient.
I feel uncomfortable sometimes about having my money on ETH because I know when the time comes that I need to move it, I'll have to pay 20, 40 bucks to do so. So I just like put that off. I just don't do it. I'm like scared to take profits sometimes, or not scared, but like I don't want to because I would rather just sell all in one go and pay gas only once.
Yeah, but in my mind, like the ETH ecosystem is better for that decentralization. We're not gonna do this.
No. Don't say ETH ecosystem. Say ETH because you're not comfortable
No,
having your money
because
on Arbitrum where they can forget to refill the gas on the sequencer.
yes, no, I'm not. But would I be comfortable, like taking 10% and putting it on Arbitrum for like my grocery shopping every week? So I don't
Would
have
you
to
be
pay
comfortable doing
L1
that on
gas.
Solana? Would you be comfortable doing
No,
that
but
on
there's
Solana?
nowhere that you have to keep all of it somewhere, and you have to stay in your ecosystem. I mean, it's a dumb take. I'll be honest. It's a dumb take because like if you're bridging, just fucking bridge to Solana for your daily transactions. If that's the case, and keep
It's
your
most
majority
likely
of your
that
net
payments
worth.
happen to your grocery store example. It's most likely that payments happen on Solana versus anywhere else. As of right now, at least there could be an L3 that makes it happen, but as of right now, I also want to say I'm not like pro Solana, like I like don't.
All your money. Would you keep all your
Would you
money on
keep all your
Terra?
money on Terra? I tried to. I
Yeah, we
definitely
tried
tried
to.
to in the past.
We tried to.
But yeah, no, I still acknowledge like the issues with the ecosystem and like the shortcomings still. I like to dunk on both and I like to support both as I choose to. It's funny because I have like Solana bros like, bro, just try out the chain, like you'll notice a difference. And it's like, dude, I've probably been on Solana like longer than you've been like out of high school. Like people don't realize I was like I first bought Solana at like
Onboarded.
$4.
Yeah.
I was like onboarded by the thing. So like
It's just to me,
excuse
it's
me
like
if I think
I
I'm
don't
like
see the
qualified to
difference.
speak on it,
I just don't see the difference, to be honest.
With what?
Like to me, that's why you got the Sol Luna AVAX trade because they're all basically the same thing.
Got two of them.
It's it's all basically the same like thesis. And if the thesis, because they're not even like, if you look at payments right now, yeah, they could transform payments in the future, but if you look at payments right now, like you said, it's Tron right now. So you're not the cheapest for payments yet. Maybe the thesis is that they're going to be, or there's like, but I also saw that when there was like some mint or something happened recently, like the chain like shit itself, and gas fees went super high. It could be like some ETH maxi post, but yeah, it's just like the idea of like just cheaper fees or cheaper gas, cheaper transactions. I think doesn't get you far. It's not a big enough like moat, in my opinion. And then it's just gonna have to boil down to apps. And like Drift is cool, and maybe I like overlook that because I'm not the biggest trader. Like I didn't really see apps on Solana
You're not looking hard
that I
enough.
like.
There's nothing. Okay, there's not that much that's ready yet, but there's enough potential going on especially when you compare it to something like ZK Sync or like Starknet or at really anywhere except for Arbitrum. Let's be honest.
In my mind, you could build anything you could build on Solana, just build it on Avalanche.
But
You
it's
could, if
being built
Terra
on
was alive, you
Solana.
could. Yeah, but like if you're saying like you have to look on Solana to find those things, if I looked at AVAX, I'd see the same things. That's
No,
why.
nah.
Maybe
Because look
less
at
activity, but like
the
I
stuff
don't
that's
see it.
gained traction or like made news on AVAX over the past year is not like you'll see
Stars Arena.
Kaleo like shilling an
That
NFT
is so
marketplace.
disappointing.
That made me so sad. I'm not gonna lie. I
Yeah,
actually used to
he's
really
still
like
doing it.
Kaleo, and he's still doing it.
Like I don't think it's Stars Arena, but I recently, like I think last week, saw some random AVAX project he was showing. Super disappointing.
Mhm.
Anyway, yeah, I mean, I'll just bury the hatchet on the Solana
Let's
thing. I just still don't
yeah.
see the thesis.
We'll put a pin in that for now, I
I'll
think.
just copy trade
Also,
you
I will say that
all one.
everybody who's like victory lapping right now, like I don't think it's fair to be doing so because
You're too
and I
nice.
think like either
I'd be victory
Mert or
lapping.
Totally said this too. Victory lapping off of like price appreciation is like a pretty like low consciousness thing to do when you were shilling the tech and the ecosystem and the builders. Like just because price through X's doesn't make the tech any better. Like I know it's a meme that it does, but it really doesn't. So like you can
I think
victory
it
lap
kind of does.
when your theses actually like start to be true. It's on the right track, sure, but like you know, don't shill it as if you're like a builder or like a visionary who sees potential and then victory lap like a trader when the price goes up. That's you know, I just
That's fair.
it doesn't make sense to me.
But I'd definitely be victory lapping if it was me. To be honest.
I I've done a little bit. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, a little. I think
I
everyone
have a
deserves
little
a
bit,
little.
but yeah, yeah.
So like, last thing on this. Last thing on this. Are you do you have any of the same conviction you previously had in Solana in any of these other L1s? Maybe the newer shiny ones.
No.
No.
I mean,
Okay.
I like the as like a
I like the
trade.
simple answer.
Yes,
Yeah,
as like
but
a
no, I'm
trade.
talking
Like
about like the same thing or similar thing you saw in Solana in terms of like these different layers of community, you know, actual protocol building, like building protocols that are like actually different than where they are at the EVM or wherever else.
I think I got lucky with Solana in the sense that because I was first
No,
onboarded
I'll
by
give
it
it to you.
because
You,
no.
you
Let me explain. Let me explain.
yeah.
Let me explain. I was lucky because I was exposed to it so early, so I was able to watch its like development fall and then like rise again. I always like kind of had the ecosystem on my radar in a way that I don't with other chains, so I was able to come to a more complete conclusion. Like I had this I would say I've had the same coverage of or similar coverage of like Cosmos too. Um but I haven't seen the same like reasons to be bullish in like the medium term there as I have for Solana. So it's hard for me to say whether like whether like Sui or Aptos or like Say or one of those other ones are going to be successful because I haven't been around in any of them long enough and I haven't taken a close enough look at the ecosystem.
Where would you go if you wanted to take a look?
No, just like their ecosystem website. I did that with Say not long ago. And
Anything
it
decent?
was
I feel
all
like I
right.
need
And
to do that on the many list of like L1s that are out there right now. And
nothing
the
super
L2s.
special. I think all of those L1s are still new enough that ecosystem I don't know that ecosystem matters that much yet. It's more so trying to shill like the infrastructure value prop, which is why like the recent Say like EVM edition was pretty big news. Um, I don't know how important ecosystem is at this stage. I know there were like some stable coins building on Aptos and Sui that got really good backing when they were first coming out, and um they had tons of VC backing and just like hype at the time, but they were just, like MakerDAO forks. So in terms of apps there, I don't know. I don't think so.
You think? Actually, let me not ask this question. Part of me still thinks Solana will never reach all-time highs and could fade into a level of
See,
irrelevance.
that's a good question. I think that's a difficult
I
question
want
to
to
answer.
I want to ask the question less about price and more about like, you know, because in my mind there's a level of like Solana that could just be like an EOS or like some crazy old thing that used to be revolutionary, has like multiple cycles, follows the trend in general, gets the attention, but like inevitably doesn't do anything. I'm not saying Solana doesn't do anything, but I think you get my point of like, uh, are the moats that are driving them to where they're at now strong enough to keep them alive like in the long term? What does the big brain long term outlook look like? Because honestly, have we gone that far? Like, how long have me and you been doing this kind of shit? Like, been talking about this stuff for a year now on this podcast, almost, and like even before then, we were discussing stuff like privately before then, and I feel like both of us have learned a lot personally, um, but like, where do you think we've gotten? How far have we gotten as like an ecosystem? Because I remember you were one of the first people to really be like, there aren't any winners yet. And at that time, I was very much a like ETH has won kind of person, like early on. And that was part of your thesis of like, there hasn't even been a winner yet. Like Solana provides a different alternative and could end up as a winner in like some aspects. How
What
far
question
from
are
that?
you asking me?
Like, how far along are we as a market from when you first observe it? Like, do
That's a
you
good
think we made
question.
any like decent progress? And what progress are you
Yeah,
looking forward to seeing?
yeah. I like seeing stuff like Helium offering cell phone plans, or like I'm trying to think of a good example on ETH. Or Coinbase Coinbase offering like one-click payments, or like sending crypto with like a link. I like the marketing stuff they're doing. I think that 100% also contributes to growth. Um, I think we've been making progress, but the thing is, for like who we are, it's hard to do so, because people like to gamble. People like just want to make money, which is fine. Like that's a core use case of crypto too. But the thing is, when you combine like the hyper financialized nature of what we're doing, with just the nature of people, you're going to end up with an ecosystem that's just vastly like, money grabbing. Um, and pushing back against that is difficult to do, I think. Um, or just building something that is like independent of that is also difficult to do, and it's what a vast minority of people are doing. Um, I don't know. I think yeah, I think we're making progress. I think we've obviously been making progress for a while, but I think it's a lot longer journey than people are expecting it to be. Um, what do you think crypto looks like in 2025? Like at the end of 2025, 2 years from now? Like what's
I don't know.
different by then?
I've more and more thought that there will be like minor improvements to the technology. Um, like yeah, minor improvements to technology. But yeah, I think like looking back on it, I feel like we're in the same Ponzi we were when we like first joined. like crypto, to be honest. Like
Yeah.
it's yeah, it's pretty much the same fucking Ponzi. And I honestly don't think it's going to change. Whether or not that's a good thing is a different story. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. I think one thing that I like about the hyper financialization of crypto is like small problems get solved quickly, in a way. Like I think the smaller stuff gets solved pretty quickly, but the bigger things just take forever because people are so distracted by the financialization aspect. So
Mhm.
it's like we're chipping away at the problem, but we're not making like any significant like strikes to the boulder. And it's like kind of frustrating. Like we'll like be chipping for a whole year and then number goes up and everyone puts like the pickaxe down and starts staring up into like at a rocket ship. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
then like it's like
Or like
not saying
SBF
that I'm like
happens or
yeah, like
para
just like
happens and we get set back.
distractions. Yeah,
Yeah.
distractions in general. Like I don't want to be like the armchair developer, but like wasn't like 4844 supposed to be out
4844.
like there's been like delays and shit there.
Deadlines are
And
hard in software.
yeah,
I try not to. It's the thing is I think people use that as an excuse sometimes, or they will like it's hard to discern when a team is just being lazy or not meeting their expectations versus just the usual process of like building software. But like I think it's beneficial to give people the benefit of the doubt more often than not.
yeah. I just think like the same major problems we had last cycle, we pretty much still have. Um, and like nobody expects the next major problems like decentralizing a sequencer. Like I was looking at that 365 days of threads that I was writing, and I was talking about like I think like Verkle trees like being implemented in Ethereum and like the research going behind that. And like I just kind of forgot how like and maybe I'm not looking enough for it, but it's like it feels like nothing has really come from that. And we've been talking about finding a way to lower gas fees for a while, and then we've also been talking about just like different aspects of a lot of it where like I honestly expect very much for Solana to like hit a point where they begin to just like go down a bunch. I think there were like fixes there, but I think the genuine building and like fixing kind of has stopped as people just get distracted by price movement and they just like just let the chain run how it is and more people will come and it'll just shit itself again. And it's like the same thing. Like people are just not putting enough attention into the progress that was supposed to be made. Like when are we supposed to get decentralized sequencers? Like when are we like fraud proofs? Like all of that, all of those things that were like promised like so long ago, just like feels like no progress is being made on any of them. Um, yeah, you see it in
Yeah.
like Cosmos and with Atom too. Like they had such a head start in like the app chain thesis and the way their governance works and like how weird the people are there in terms of like financializing things. It seems like they're stuck in the same spot they were like
I mean,
last cycle.
DYDX V4 just launched. Akash is
I only
hitting
think
all-time
I
highs on
only think
almost all metrics.
I only think
Injective
DYDX
is
launched because they had to make that decision when they had no other options and they didn't want to pivot. Like I think they had to
no.
sit down and really say, all right, we're going to commit to this, even though we're seeing like a million optimism chains go out and it'd be
DYDX made
super
this
easy.
decision well before like OpStack chains were
Yeah,
a thing.
that's what I'm saying.
They
But they
evaluated,
had to stick to it.
but L2 app chains were still a thing at the time. I mean, they were on an L2 app chain. What like I'm sure they knew the trade-offs of going from being a StarkX based app chain to some other software stack. Because Antonio's talked about this a lot. I when I was researching DYDX, one of like the core questions I was trying to answer was Like, why is V4 on Cosmos? Like, is that bearish for Ethereum? And it's like basically the decision was it didn't have that much to do with like scalability or anything of that nature. It was more so like the
Customization.
fact that they needed something out of the box that they could set specific validator requirements on in a way that allowed them to further decentralize their like existing model.
How would you
And
rank
maybe
them in
that
decentralization?
right now, or I mean V3 is like just like
No,
a slight
V4. Like
step
what
up.
V4 is supposed to be.
What V in theory from like reading about it, um, I think it's on par. No, I think it's a step further, a step closer to decentralized from other order book based dexes on like L2s. So if
So is
you
it
look
the
at
equivalent of like a decentralized on-chain order book?
no,
So
no,
it sits like more
it's
centralized than something like that.
yeah, yeah, but no, it's less centralized than fully on chain, but it's more centralized than the other order book models we have on the EVM. So if you look at something like RapidX or like Hyperliquid, um, their order books are managed by either a permissioned set of operators, or at best it's like it's market makers can come and run them if they'd like to, but it's not like an easy thing to do, obviously. And it's a distinct set. And for what
They're
DYDX is supposed to
permissioned,
be,
I'm assuming. Is that what you mean?
permission, I mean, yeah,
Like to
yeah,
run a validator?
yeah. It's either that or it's just like a high barrier to entry. Um, but for DYDX, given that the like validator requirements themselves include running an order book, um, and that process itself is permissionless, and anyone can delegate to those validators as well, and you can distribute stake more fairly. I definitely think it's a step in the right direction. I think it's like as far as you can take an off-chain order book, um, to be decentralized without putting it on chain.
No.
At least that I know of right now. I can't think of any other way to go about doing that.
The that pub tweet 17 days before the unlock for DYDX was
Yeah,
pretty
yeah, that was
hilarious.
crazy. It's below like $3 now too.
That was pretty hilarious.
And I just like to remind everyone that lots of influencers shielded at the top there. And I literally said they're like they know what they're doing here. I've been calling DYDX since below $2. Now influencers are shilling it. There's an unlock coming in like 2 weeks. I'm out. Like, don't listen to these guys. And then Ansem like replies to me. He's like, bro, like you didn't even call it. You like he takes like two pictures completely out of context. He's like, bro, like you should have given an entry and an exit and all and like journaled it.
Contract
And it's like
address, entry price, exit
DYDX
price,
is under $3 now. Like,
leverage. Yep, the tweet can't be anything other than your like the exact contract address, entry, exit price, leverage amount, and yeah, that's
yeah,
funny.
it is what it is. It's just the way the industry works.
I'm
It's
glad though. I'm glad I still get to at least have another chance, or at least more time to like copy your calls without anybody else.
I should have been if I was a bigger account and like I didn't have morals, I would be fudding the shit out of DYDX right now. I'd be like, oh, price is down like 30%. Volume on V4 is at an all-time low. And the
Oh,
unlocks just
speaking of
happened five
that,
days ago. All of that is true, by the way, but it's taken out of context. It sounds bearish, even though it's not.
speaking of that, I think the L2 governance token discussion would be interesting. I think there's like clear value prop in that. I don't know. I tweeted this out. I think uh like the kind of revenue or potential revenue or like guidance that's going to come from governance on these L2s is going to become significant and meaningful like a lot quicker than people expect. And so I think like control with these governance tokens is going to be pretty useful. You tend to think that it's hot garbage, or at least for now.
I don't think it's
And I do still think Arbitrum is a good ETH beta play. Maybe not yet. It's only been people like to look at the chart. It's only been like it hasn't been that long. Okay,
been like
there's some discovery that has
7-8
to
months,
happen.
I think.
Yeah, there's some discovery that has to happen.
I don't know.
I think it'll start aligning soon.
I think that in its current state, Arbitrum has the same value prop as any other.
You sold all your L2 tokens?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was actually like all of my ARB was in GMX, and in GMX V2 and their like GM pools. And you know what I did? I sold it all for the Solana GM pool when Solana was at like $30.
Nice.
So that, and like that had nothing to do with like me thinking that the pump would happen. It was more so just like my options. I wanted to keep it on GMX because incentives were starting soon, and the only options I was open to were like Bitcoin, ETH, and like Solana. Like I'm not going to buy Bitcoin because I'm under the age of 70 and I have enough Ethereum. So I was like, let's just put it in Solana. And they were earning high yield too.
Do you think ARB ever? Because I know Starknet at one point was mentioning that they're going to have their token be used for gas fees. Do you think any of these L2s start doing that to like provide a base level of value prop for themselves?
I mean, that's the nice thing about governance is it can always happen. And it like if it happened, it hasn't happened anywhere yet. It hasn't happened on any L2 yet. But if it happens on one and it works well for driving value to the token, it's like it's gonna have a domino effect almost.
Why don't they do this? This is a dumb idea. Why don't they do like holder incentives? Like how like if you used to go on, I never did this, but if you used to go on Binance and you had like a certain amount of BNB, you would get like less trading fees. Like what if you hold a certain amount of ARB, you have less gas fees.
That's like sex tokens. It's the less gas fees.
Less gas fees. Or
that'd
be pretty hilarious.
That's kind of interesting.
I don't know if that's.
But in theory, gas fees shouldn't matter on ARB post 4844, right?
Yeah, in theory. Whenever the fuck that happens.
Yeah. I mean, the goal for L2s.
Do you think the L3s happen anytime soon to drive any of that value? Last question.
Well, L3s. I don't think L3 should happen unless they're purpose built. I think L3 should be app chains and they should never be general purpose because then, like, what are we doing? But L3s as like app chains, I think makes a lot of sense. Like I'm excited to see RBX chain. What are some other ones? I think Unidex is like Caldera or whatever it is. I think that's either an L2 or an L3. I can't remember.
Jesus, Unidex guys are gonna be.
I don't know. I like Unidex. I don't know enough about them, to be honest. I haven't really looked into them too deeply, and they've changed a lot since I first looked at them. When I first looked at them, they were kind of just a perps aggregator, and now they're doing intense stuff, and they have Caldera with Celestia support and all this. Like, I just haven't looked into it.
Let's do. Do you remember we used to do like calls
of the week? Yeah.
Let's do calls. See if we kept doing calls of the week every week, we would have hit on at least I would have hit on more of your calls.
Let me share some shit. Why not,
What do I got? Dude, I got nothing. I feel very washed. I'm working too much. I'm gonna stop working.
Look at some prices and see what's up.
We were I feel like I never even considered RabbitX token price when we had them on, but we were actually very.
I kind of just mid curved it. We were super early, but I just mid curved it.
We were actually super fucking early to that.
Yeah.
Like now, everyone and their fucking mother is the biggest RabbitX supporter.
Yeah.
Do you want to add this?
Crazy.
Do you want to add this?
Huh?
Do you want to share screen on it?
Am I not sharing screen?
Oh, I gotta add it here. Now
Yeah, add
now
it.
you are. I didn't know if you
Let's
were
take a
ready.
look at Rollbit, dude. Oh, this
Yeah,
is so
I looked
sad.
at it as soon as we got
Look
in
at
here.
these
Just like
wicks, dude. My goodness.
I had a line that was like, an imaginary line, and it just fell below my imaginary
I don't
line.
know. I don't know what's happening here. Like the longer this continues with a market like this,
Wait,
I
what did
just
you just
become
do?
more and more suspicious.
Your
Like
your
where there's smoke, there's fire. You know?
your microphone is like doing something weird. You're
Oh,
touching
hello.
something. Yeah, no, you're good.
Yeah, I was touching something.
Uh,
Um,
yeah, no, this is pretty sad. Oh, is this?
I.
Whoa, we got all these watch lists here on the right hand side
Oh
for
yeah, we
people
do.
that are
Yeah.
interested.
This isn't complete. I've been adding stuff to this like this week actually. Like I just added Tau and
Did you get the
Prime.
premium for this for
I
trading
did
view?
get the premium.
Can you do
It's a good
anything
deal, I
cool?
think. I just set alerts because I can't do limit orders on chain, so it's good to have alerts. I bought some Prime earlier at 7, which looks pretty good. It actually looks really good.
Wait,
I
what
caught
looks
the
good
wick of
about
that.
this? Oh,
Well, just the fact that I caught like the
oh yeah.
bottom of these wicks. I didn't buy enough, I guess. Um,
What is
DYDX.
it?
Let's take a look at this. What is Prime?
Yeah,
It's like a gaming. It's like everybody's favorite like gaming token right now. I think. Um,
we should probably
I
talk to. Fuck. We need to talk into our Discord more because
yeah, we
what's
do.
his name is super into gaming, and like gaming's
Ben.
been popping off. Ben, yeah,
Yeah, he's probably been eating
yeah, he's probably
these
been
past
eating
weeks.
fucking good too. He was super like into the gaming stuff for a while. Look at that
This is where you bet the house. By the way,
on
two point
DYDX.
two 2.25 ish, 2.23.
What chart is this daily?
Um, yeah,
Any lines we can draw? That's the only line.
that's.
Do
I
a
mean,
do a
you can also just buy at like regular like emotional zones, like $3, 2.5. Um, yeah, 2.5 looks pretty good actually. Maybe we should do something there too. What else? What
Solar
give me a ticker.
62.
What do you want to look at?
What's the call? What are the calls?
The calls. Well,
Yeah, what are the calls?
I bought some DYDX here. I think it's a decent play or decent RR right now at least. It could keep going down because metrics aren't crazy. I gotta jump in a second, by the way.
Yeah.
I'm still looking for a fucking entry on Tau. Where did I put that? 220.
I caught the
220.
bottom on
Okay.
that Remilio though. Too bad
Yeah,
I'm
you
never gonna
did.
be able to sell it, but that's that was a nice one. I haven't had any real good trades since then. I do
Say
think
I've done
ETH is like prime though, to be honest. I don't want to be like
ETH looks
super
pretty good.
basic,
Yeah.
but I think ETH is like fucking
ETH
prime.
does look. I actually have some puts on ETH right now, so
What
you
the
know, a little
fuck?
bit. Say I've done really well trading Say. I
Yeah, that was a good
bought
one.
the bottom and sold the top like on 2 consecutive occasions. I'm still not fully in, which makes me a little bit uncomfortable, but I don't want to be buying here. I think my average cost right now is like I first bought at like 0.14, I think.
Do you have any
And I
Celestia?
added some. No, dude, I wish I never sold my airdrop. I
I
got
wish
like
I
2k.
actually
I got
fucking
like 2k
claimed mine.
Celestia. Yeah,
I
you
wish I
probably
claimed mine.
had a good amount.
Oh,
But yeah,
dude, I
I
faded
had
it
like
so
2k
hard.
Celestia and I sold it. I sold it at whatever it was
I
on the
was just
first day,
too lazy
$2.
to do what I had to do to try and claim that, and yeah, that sucks. Anyway, I think that
Yeah,
just
I
about does it
think
for
that's
this
good.
episode.
Don't want to keep my buddy waiting. I gotta go soon.
All right,
All right.
that's episode 46. We're so back. Watch us fucking nuke.
We gotta do another solo
Ooh.
episode like first week because that's our 1 year anniversary.
January.
Yeah.
I don't know who we're gonna have on next week.
We'll figure it out.
Somebody, I, DCF God. If DCF God is watching this, answer my fucking DM. Other than that,
All
I
right.
think we'll have to see next week who's coming on. All right, that's
All right.
episode 46. Peace.